the back, the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 827?
Meh? Sure.
28?
That's Kevin's job.
I don't know. Yeah, Kevin's not here, so I don't know. Den of Thieves 2, Cowboys from Hell. So let's go around the table. And
Walk is a better song, but it's fine.
It is a better song. Maybe I should have went with Vulgar Display of Power, given the nature of this film.
I got to tell you, I'm glad you said that because I got questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Tom. And joining us via the magic of ZoomTube is Paul Harris from sunny Florida, you son of a bitch.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's Juneau, Alaska here, and we're freezing our butts off. Did that work? No.
No.
It's funny when it gets to like 35. You're just like, oh, it feels nice out.
Yeah, it is funny how when it's 35 in November, you're like, this is the worst thing ever. But when it's 35 in January, you're like, I think a hoodie's probably plenty.
This is great.
Yeah.
Open the windows.
When he was like pretending to be in Juneau, Alaska, I'm like, the thing is, when you go to Juneau, Alaska, you want it to be cold.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've been to Alaska once.
I've never been.
And we wore shorts the whole time.
What was the weather like?
For shorts, it was warm enough.
That
for
doesn't mean
shorts.
anything to me.
But to me,
okay, fair.
I think it's been firmly established on this show, I'm a giant pussy.
Sure.
And so I'm not wearing shorts if it's cold. But no, it was like 75.
That's wild.
And like we were doing hiking, so like the first day I wore pants, thinking I was in Alaska, and like a third of a mile in, I'm just like, sweet baby Jesus, I'm just drenched.
Did you watch the last season of True Detective?
No.
Man, they do a good. That's set in Alaska, and they do a great job of making me feel like I'm never going to Alaska. That looks terrible. It looks awful.
Well, we did all the very touristy things. We hiked to the edge of a glacier.
That's still pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it was neat. Cool. I'm not complaining. But like, yeah, it was like 75 the whole time. Like you had, if you're going to do any sort of physical exertion, you needed to have shorts on. You're going to be sweating your butt off.
That's fun.
So,
well, down here in Florida, when it gets below 50, people have to get out their North Face coats.
It's too chilly. What are you talking about?
So one of the reasons I would never move to Florida is because I could never wear a hoodie.
You could wear
but rarely,
like a short sleeve hoodie.
Short sleeve hoodie.
I've seen them on the soon to be banned TikTok.
Well, that's ridiculous.
They're I'd wear them.
That's short sleeve hoodies.
Yeah, I mean I pull my sleeves up all the time anyway. Collection. Yeah, that's exactly. Yes. Well
I
done,
get
Paul.
like pulling your sleeves up, but
it's
an actual thing. That's crazy to me.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd wear it though.
Well, that's not saying a whole lot.
No, it's really not. Yeah, this sweatshirt was...
And that's Den of Thieves 2.
Yeah, pretty much. This will be the entire episode.
I know.
Us just discussing
the practicality of short sleeve hoodies.
Bro fashion. So, okay, before we dig in, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That is super helpful. It is also greatly appreciated. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/realspoilers. While you're there, like the page and join the group. The group is called the League of Show Sharers, if you're looking for it, because we are hoping you will share an episode. People who will kind enough to share an episode over the last 2 weeks, because I forgot to. I did it all the work and then forgot to take it with me because we recorded on an irregular day for us.
Sorry.
This will encompass both. So people who shared over the last two weeks include Librarian Cynthia, Brenda McGuckin, Lane Levanway, Tom Dowdy, Richard Krotzer, Ralph Tribble, Chris Falls, Julianne Jordan, Aaron Kyleman, Taylor Ward, Michael Tonkovic, Chris Magic Man, Gabriel Lugo, Phil Timon, Travis Tewitt, Dissect That Film, Heather Sachs, Ken Holtzhauer, Mike and Oscar, Edit Photo Gamer, Jarpo, Batman Rye Guy, Colby Mack, Nostalgia Cast, The Kryptonian Orphan, Spoiler Piece Theater, In Session Film, Ronnie Castle, Geek to Me Radio, Ryan Terry, and Matt Neglia. So thank you very much. That is very, very much appreciated. You can also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Real Spoilers, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra. And, of course, you can watch all of these over on the YouTube. So here's all that. Let's dig in
Okay.
to Den of Thieves 2, starring Gerard Butler as Russell Crowe.
Man, he looks just like him now, doesn't he? The beard, the big body, everything acts like him. It's like they did a clone job.
I think he's smaller, but they both kind of made their career, right? Russell Crowe in Gladiator, Gerard Butler in 300.
Right.
Like these ripped physiques, which are impossible to maintain unless, like, that's your job.
Yeah.
Right?
Although,
Tell me about it.
Yeah. But also, like, it kind of is their job.
To a degree.
I mean, he's also not a young man anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, he's
yeah.
probably
Him and
gotta
Russell
be,
Crowe, both.
got to be, what, in his late 40s? I don't know.
Oh,
how
I
old
would say he's
Gerard
in his
Butler
50s.
is.
He's got to be in his 50s.
Has he been around that long?
Sure. Yeah, he was in A Phantom of the Opera.
No, he's 55.
Yeah, he
So
was in
he's the same age I am, basically.
Same shape, too.
Well, I'm 54.
No, okay, I get
So,
it.
well,
It's like, we're close enough.
Yeah.
This is a weird movie.
This is a bad movie.
It's a really bad movie with a
Yeah.
great action sequence at the end.
I mean,
I thought that chase sequence was
we'll
really
get there.
right.
But that's stupid, too.
Also, agreed. Did you pick up on, like, you made a comment earlier about, like, power.
Yeah.
Did you pick up on right-wing stuff in this? Or was that just me?
I don't know about right wing other than.
And I'm not saying that because of the climate, but like
Yeah.
there's a scene where they're like chanting NATO.
Yeah, that was weird.
And I was like, that's strange. That's a weird thing to put in a movie.
Yeah. And also, it also just had that like manly thing going on, right?
Well, the first one had that.
Yeah, but God, this one just felt so much worse.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be the manliest man that's ever manned, or otherwise you're a woman.
Well, the first one I didn't. So I went back and rewatched the first one because I completely forgot
I
about
just
it.
read the Wikipedia synopsis, and in all fairness, I got bored doing that, and just was like, I'll just read the last two paragraphs of the Wikipedia synopsis.
I completely forgot that we reviewed that.
No, we did.
Yeah. And the takeaway from that one was it has that scene with 50 Cent and not Liev Schreiber,
Yeah.
Pablo Schreiber, where he basically dresses down the kid on who's taking his daughter out for the first time or whatever. And it's the TikTok meme that all of the quote unquote hard ass dads would repost.
Yeah.
Because that's what I would do to do for my daughter. It's like, all right, bud. Like, whatever.
No daughter of mine's going to have sexual agency.
That's exactly right. So,
Of course, they're incels, so they are never going to have a daughter of their own.
it's also, yeah. And that first one is a fun movie, and it's very forgettable in everything about it.
I think the thing that people remember the most about the first one, if they saw it, was the quote unquote twist at the end.
Yeah.
Where you find out that
O'Shea
Jackson has been secretly masterminding
Kaiser
the whole
Soze,
thing. He's
the whole
Kaiser
thing.
Soze of the whole thing.
Right.
And so I think people walked out of that movie with maybe a little bit more because of the little twist at the end, people maybe left the movie remembering it as being better than it was.
I think that's fair. It is a twist that you didn't see coming.
Yeah,
because
I didn't think that they were even trying to do a twist.
Right.
It's like, oh, I didn't realize anybody put that much thought into this thing. That's mildly interesting and also a little sad.
I gotta say, I thought the heist at the center of the first movie really qualified as one of those things I like in heist movies, which is the more complicated the crime, the better.
Yeah.
Particularly if you don't let us in on everything. So much plot nonsense around that. And then, when they made this second movie, they said, well, we bogged the first one down with plot nonsense. Let's do it again.
Yeah, like this heist was just like the first one. It had an interesting premise of like, we're going to steal money that the government is destroying because it's damaged. We're taking it out of circulation.
Right,
So if we do this right, no one will ever know we stole the money. I'm like, oh, that's clever. And in this one, they're just like diamonds. And then like when you get to the heist, it's not, I didn't feel like the heist was that complex. It was like, we just look at things on an app, and I'm like, and they're like, go left, go right, go left. Okay, you're done.
Okay,
now.
you're done.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me, this is the bro heist movie equivalent of Cannonball Run and Cannonball Run 2.
I think that you're giving the first Den of Thieves way too much credit.
So Cannonball Run was all about the car chases, right?
Yeah.
And them traveling across country. And Cannonball Run 2, like, they never actually did very many car chases. And then at the end, it's supposed to be about this race. They just show you the race on a little cartoon map, and they're like, and we're at the end. And you're just like, what are we doing? That's not what we can.
That's because Cannonball Run 2 was filmed entirely in California with a race across the country.
Yeah.
All in California.
Yeah. And maybe they were scared to do stunts because somebody died filming Cannonball Run 1.
Like in real life?
In real life, yeah. It was a female stunt driver.
Oh, shit.
Or maybe she was paralyzed, but like there was a very tragic accident.
Sure. I can see where that would make you a little
so like they
skittish.
just kind of like take away the thing that you come to these things for, and all that's left is just the toxic masculinity.
Well, and in the first one, after rewatching it, there's no good guy. Right? Like the good guy, I guess, is O'Shea Jackson because he doesn't kill anybody. He just gets away with the money.
And honestly, the money they steal is nobody's money.
Yeah,
they're just going to destroy it.
Yeah.
So like, you know what I mean? So
he
like
didn't do it. He just stole,
It's ultimately kind of a victimless crime.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but you've got Gerard Butler's character, who is the epitome of toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And then you've got...
Was he this douchey in the first one? I don't remember
So
that.
he was more douchey. He was more douchey in the first one because he was a bad cop. And he would do all of these bad things to get his way, right? Like there's a whole scene where he drugs O'Shea Jackson and like kind of flips him. But then like it's a mess because he and Pablo, is it Shriver or Schreiber?
I have no idea.
Schreiber with a B.
Schreiber. Okay, so he's not Lee's brother.
Right.
Okay, good. They're like these two forces that are just clashing with each other, right? And sometimes you can root in movies like this. You usually root for the bad guy. Usually,
Yeah.
like
You're hoping they pull it off.
Yeah,
because they spend so much time in the trenches of how this heist is gonna go down. Like you get caught up in the like you want them to pull it off.
And there's usually a quote unquote code, right? Where they're like, we're not going to kill anybody. We're not going to, well, not in Den of Thieves. They kill people all over the place in that movie. So in this one, you almost have to see the first one to understand where these characters are. Because in the first one, Nick gets busted by his wife because he accidentally sends a text that was supposed to go to his side piece to his wife. And his wife's like, hey, where were you? And he's just like, I was at work. She's like, really? What's this? And he's just like, nah. And she leaves him.
God, I don't remember this at all.
Well, I just watched it. That's the only reason I remember that.
So getting into this movie, like the opening scene
is him in the courthouse?
Is him in the courthouse, right?
So which stems from the first movie.
Which I like. So he's in the men's room.
Yeah.
And because it opens with him peeing, because it's really important that they know that without the film viewers know he's got a penis.
Well, he has to stand up.
He's a man.
Yeah.
And he pees standing up.
He must stand up
because
to
that's
pee.
what men do.
That's right.
And he's all mad because he's divorced now.
Right.
And
I think he's mad. I think he's mad that the big thing is that he's mad that O'Shea Jackson got over on him.
But this is about his divorce. He's mad that he's divorced now.
Yeah.
Because you see him take off his ring and throw it away.
Correct.
And then he beats up a hand dryer.
Did you throw your ring away?
No, my ring was gold. I sold it.
Yeah, I couldn't sell mine.
Yeah, no,
It's tungsten.
I sold it for the value of the gold.
Smooth.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to
And then
do.
used it to take a chick out.
Well done. Hey,
Yes.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a, I got to tell you, baller move.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's what I did.
Well done.
Yeah. So, like, I hate this scene on so many levels. I mean, first off, I hate it because this guy, like, why does this guy care that he's divorced? Like, he was cheating on his wife. He didn't care about being married. Why would he still have his wedding ring on? Like, anyone that's gone through a divorce,
sure.
like, by the time your
thing's
divorce
off.
is final, it's been off for months.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like...
So I took this as this was a custody, because he says he's in family court, and then we hear later that he only gets to see his kids on birthdays and Christmas. So I thought this, because they do play up in the first movie that he does love his kids.
As someone who's gone through...
You're absolutely right.
A heinous custody battle.
Yeah.
If you're only seeing your kids on Christmas and their birthdays,
You're the problem.
you did something really messed up.
Right.
I mean,
But more importantly, why do we have to know any of this stuff? To the actual criminal acts, let's get to the gang getting together and plotting it. Well, I don't care if he's married or single or bi or LGBT plus. That has nothing to do with, oh, by the way, later on, in about an hour, we're going to steal some diamonds.
so here's this. So, Paul, that's a wonderful question. And also, your video cut out. I don't know if that's anything you have control over, because I know Squadcast has been real weird. But so that's a wonderful question. And this gets me to the next part of what I hate so much about this movie. This scene is very important because this is his motivation for going rogue and teaming up with what's the character's name?
O'Shea Jackson.
Okay. This is his motivation, right?
Donnie.
Because he's like, I'm tired of being a cop. It doesn't pay well. Like, I'm tired of always scraping by like this. And, like, screw everything.
Wait. You think that he was going bad the whole time, and then at the last second he flipped? I thought he was undercover the whole time.
No, he's undercover the whole time. The most obvious twist in the history of cinema. At no point did I think he was really joining this group. But this is why I hate this scene, is because this scene is only there to trick the viewer into believing
I see.
that why he's not, to make the viewer think he's not really undercover.
Okay.
Right? That's the only reason this scene exists. It doesn't exist to tell us anything about his character.
Right.
It's there to trick the viewer because...
Which I know you love.
Yeah, because, like, he wouldn't still have his ring on.
Right.
He wouldn't be that mad. He's boning chicks left and right when he was married.
Yep.
Like, like, this scene is only there to trick us.
But then...
And by the way, if you are a cop who isn't making enough money, is the first thing you do go to Europe?
Yeah.
No, you find some OT.
Yeah, you get OT.
Yeah.
Everybody knows
and
that.
they I gotta tell you,
yeah,
they make bank.
You direct traffic outside of a rock concert.
It's very simple.
Yeah, you check IDs at the gun show. Like, yeah.
They need to do a better job of that, but that's a whole different podcast.
So he convinces the LA Sheriff's Department to send him to Marseille, France.
So the guy that he meets in the car is an FBI agent from the first movie. The blonde that he takes into a carrier thing is Pablo Schreiber's girlfriend from the first movie.
Oh, have we seen her before? I'm
Yeah.
glad you just saw the
I know.
Yeah.
Well, when she shows up, and I was just like, holy, like what? And then, so she threatens him he wants to know where the money is from the first heist. And she's like, I'm not telling you. I'm not blah, blah. And then she whips out her phone and says, here's the sex tape that I'm going to publish to your daughters and blah, blah, blah. It's going to ruin your career. But he's already fired at this point, so I don't care about my career. Like, whatever.
And then he threatens to kill her.
Yes.
Like,
which is that is the character from the first movie.
okay.
Right? He was that kind of cop. So he then talks the feds into, he has, again, this is the Die Hard 5, right? Good Day to Die Hard. Die Hard 3 is
Samuel L.
Samuel Jackson. Die Hard 4
Is that Live Free or Die Hard?
Timothy Olyphantastic is the bad guy in that one.
Okay.
So Die Hard 5 is when he goes to like Russia.
Right.
And
it's the really bad one.
Yes, with Jai Courtney as John McClane Jr.
Yeah.
Because we had Lucy McClane in the fourth one. But
Right.
it's the one where just like, you have no jurisdiction here, bud. Like,
Right.
you can't, just because you're on vacation doesn't mean you can fight crime. He has like an expired U.S. Marshals badge that he tells the Fed, he's like, I'm just going to pretend that I'm this guy. And it's like, that's not how your whole case is now negated.
Yeah.
Because you're not a U.S. Marshal.
Right.
Now, Joe, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Is there such a thing as an expired badge? If I show you a badge, can you tell me, oh, that's still active?
You can be deputized for an amount of time. But like to be a U.S. Marshal, you have to go through their program.
I mean,
I know, but if I just showed you the badge, if I just flashed my badge in front of you, can you tell, oh, that's expired, I'm not paying attention to you?
No.
Yeah, I took it as he has this badge and he's going to show it to people and hope that they don't actually do any additional asking.
Correct. I mean, yes, you could flash up any
it's not
badge.
it's not like he's holding up a Blockbuster card.
Like, hey, wait a minute. That's not, you can't
We've
go there.
defunded Blockbuster.
Hey, I got to tell you, a year ago today was the anniversary of my last shift at Blockbuster.
Oh.
The day we closed it.
How about that?
How about that? No, but you can, like, there are cops or other departments can be detached to, like, a St. Louis City cop can be detached to the feds to work on a task force.
Right.
Or the U.S. Marshals to work on a task force. But they're not U.S. Marshals. They're just working with them, which is the way I interpret he had this badge. But since he's not detached to any sort of government agency, this whole arrest is bull.
Right. Like,
it's all useless.
Yeah.
They have to let all of those people go because it's not, he's not undercover for it. He's just dicking around in France.
Right.
So that was a little,
while committing felonies.
Yeah, exactly. So he goes, and this is when he sees O'Shea Jackson is now putting on a French accent, which I was kind of impressed that he could do.
Except then it becomes an English accent.
It does change to a British accent at one point. And he's basically doing the same thing he did in the first one, right? First one, he's working at a bar that's right next to the Fed, and that's how he gets all the intel. Now he's like working on the inside with this group of people we've never met.
Yeah.
Right? And
we should say the actual opening scene was them doing the heist of the diamonds. They hijack a plane that never has left the ground and steal diamonds, and they're basically stealing this really
one pink diamond.
This one specific really big diamond so they can use it to get into the secret diamond exchange bank and steal the other diamonds that are in that bank.
Right.
It's their entry into more diamonds.
You think that they were stealing that the Italian mafia didn't know they were stealing that diamond?
I don't understand the question.
I thought it was all a setup. I thought the mafia was like, he went to the mafia saying, let me borrow this. If I borrow this, I can use this to get into this thing.
No, because the mafia's mad, right? The mafia's mad that this diamond was stolen.
But then they're not mad because he's just like, here you go.
Because he gets it back. And then they're like, this guy's really good. He stole this diamond. When we're getting to the end of the movie, he stole this diamond from us. And then he used it to steal more diamonds. And then he got the original diamond back and returned it to us. So now he works for us.
I appreciate that this movie thinks that they're not Italian. They're Sicilian. They make a point of saying that. I got to tell you, that's the first time I've ever seen in a movie where they tell you what the language is before the subtitle.
Look, I'm just going to put this out there because I think it's something you need to hear, Joe. The only people who care about the difference between Italians and Sicilians are Italians and
Sicilians. I know.
Yeah. Like the rest of us.
We're from a different island.
It's all the same thing.
I know.
It's all the...
But, while you're speaking about their accents, I have to say, this is a movie that if I watched it at home, I would have to have the closed captioning on. I saw this in a movie theater where there is no closed captioning, and I could not understand 80% of the dialogue spoken by the Europeans.
It was like watching
whatever language they were speaking.
It was like watching Snatch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's in the first one, we had this team of guys. We had the dad from Shazam was in it. Max Holloway, who's a UFC fighter, was in that group.
If the first one was Dirty Dozen, which to be clear, it's not.
It's not.
This one is the made-for-TV Dirty Dozen, The Next Mission.
Wasn't there like a Magnificent Seven, one of those too? Like, wasn't there like a TV show or a TV movie, like a sequel to the Magnificent Seven?
So there were like 4 or 5 sequels to the Magnificent
Seven. But only the first one was in theaters, right? Everything else was
they were all theatrical. So it was like Magnificent Seven and then Magnificent Seven Right Again, and then like Yul Brynner leaves, and I think like George Kennedy comes in or something.
Okay.
And it's like Magnificent Seven Return, Magnificent.
It got really bad when it was the Magnificent Seven play frisbee.
Yeah,
what the hell?
Magnificent Seven go to Japan. But yeah, like
and play against the Bad News Bears.
Correct.
I didn't realize there were that many theatrical sequels to that.
Yeah, there were quite a bit. There's an actual like a DVD pack where you can get all of them.
And who wants that?
Completists,
I guess.
I have it. Shut up.
Do you have it physically or do you have it digitally?
I have it physically.
Okay.
I've had it for a long time, but it was like on sale for like $8.
Sure,
and you got all of them, and I was like, maybe one day.
I do love that first movie.
Yeah.
So
that first one's great.
One's amazing.
The first one's great.
Yeah. So Nick, who is Gerard Butler, goes to France.
Just real quick, we have sequels are Return of the Seven, Guns of the Magnificent Seven.
That's a good title, though.
What's that?
Guns of the Magnificent Seven. That's a good title.
And then the Magnificent Seven Ride. 3 sequels were eventually made. Yul Brynner returned as Chris Adams for Return of the Seven, but was replaced in the sequels by George Kennedy and Lee Van Cleef.
I mean, I love me some Lee Van Cleef.
Yeah. And then there was a TV show in the late 90s.
And then there was a remake.
And then there was the remake with Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt.
That we covered on this show.
Yeah, and it was not.
It was fine.
It was fine.
It was the same. I would put it in the same category as the first Den of Thieves.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was, so Nick, who is Gerard Butler, goes to the French police and they're like, hey, here's this woman. And we see O'Shea Jackson walk onto the camera and he's like, oh, no, that's not him. In like the worst lie. Even the cops are like, yeah, you're full of shit.
And again, what is the point of this scene other than to trick the viewers?
So I thought the point of this scene, so that maybe they got me, was that he was going to go at, he was like, no, that's not him.
Like he's going to go after them. He's going to go rogue and either go after them himself or team up with them, which is what we see happen and we're supposed to believe is happening, right?
Yes.
But if at the end, like that task force comes in and they're the ones that are slapping the cuffs on everybody.
Yeah.
So this scene is just complete bull to trick the viewer into believing his undercover antics aren't actually undercover.
Right.
So like this scene makes zero sense once you get to the quote unquote twist at the end. Because
the big reveal.
What, like, I lied and said that's not him, and now I'm working with you to catch the guy I just told you isn't him.
Right. But I had him. I made him. I tried to. The lady boss. There's the whole scene. This movie is so strange because the first one had a tone throughout the movie. Right? Like it was the same tone throughout the movie. Holy This one, it like wanted to be this heist movie. It wanted to be this buddy cop movie. It wanted to be they wanted you to care.
It's a buddy heist movie.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that only works in something like Ocean's 11, where the two guys are friends. Like these guys aren't friends.
Yeah.
You can kind of accept the fact that Nick is saying, like, screw all this stuff. I've lost my kids. I've lost my wife. I've lost my job. Why wouldn't I join this group of individuals?
Right, which I get.
Okay.
I will accept that as a premise, except then the twist is none of that was true, and the only reason we believe that is because they created multiple scenes that are complete bull and make no sense in the context of the story. They only work to trick us. The only reason, like, why would he lie to the task force about who O'Shea Jackson is?
If he's fired, if he got fired from the LA Sheriff's Office, he has no police jurisdiction anywhere.
Well, now I don't know if he got fired or not.
Well, he says, I guess that's true. O'Shea Jackson does say, "Hey, I heard you got fired," and he doesn't confirm or deny.
And they could have, like, put out the word that he got fired. To help him go undercover.
Yeah, that's true. Because the guy from the feds was giving him information.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it doesn't matter. This is, and then I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but it does have this weird right-leaning thought process. There's a whole scene in a bar where they're trying to, like, basically the original gang is like, let's just get him fucked up and see what happens.
Well, they want him to take drugs to prove he's not a cop.
Correct.
Because an undercover cop isn't supposed to commit crimes. And so,
and he's just like, okay. And he starts drinking this weird drink. He starts smoking
hash.
Yeah, laced with something. Like, it's all kinds of stuff. And he does have a moment where he says, "Fuck the police." And I do like that O'Shea Jackson kind of shoots him a look. And I was like, okay, it's a deep cut.
Meta joke.
It is a meta joke that I don't know that everybody got.
No, I think everybody got it.
That's fair.
Paul, did you get it?
I got it.
Yeah, perfect.
But
All
I'm
right.
from Compton.
Yeah, he's pretty
I'm
straight.
from Compton, so that's why I get it.
But are you straight out of Compton? That's the question.
No.
Oh, okay.
I had to use GPS. I got lost.
There's always a fun fact. NWA, the second biggest band from Compton. Do you remember the first? The Beach Boys.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
The Beach Boys are from Compton.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay. So then he says, like, there's, I guess, I think Gerard Butler is talking about, is he talking about France? He makes a comment about how the U.S. screwed over whatever country this one guy is from.
Yeah.
And then they start chanting, like, NATO.
Right.
And I was like,
so
well,
weird.
that's weird. And then given everything that we went through with NATO in the real world.
And are about to go through
again. That just seemed like a very strange thing.
Yeah.
But it also, I don't know, I think a lot of the right-leaning entertainment, I use that term very loosely, but like the Chris Pratt TV show, I think that the Bradley Cooper, Chris Kyle movie,
American Sniper
with the baby,
weird baby.
The weird baby, they all kind of have this macho, manly aspect to them.
Yeah.
And while the first one had that, but didn't really feel anything different, it felt like a B-level action movie.
Right.
This one does feel like that Chris Pratt show. It feels like Americans, where it's just like, it had a weird feel to it.
Yeah.
And I tried to do a little bit of research to see if this guy maybe was on the right, and I couldn't find anything about this guy at all. But it, I don't know. It felt
ultimately
very weird.
none of that would matter if the movie was better and we were enjoying it. We wouldn't be thinking about those.
That's
things.
true.
Yeah.
100% right.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's not better, and I couldn't stop thinking about it.
So your mind just starts going down these rabbit holes of, like, what is that? Well, especially, like I said, having a whole scene where the cast is chanting,
Weird.
is weird, and like that's a and then people will probably yell at us for making it political, but like what's more political than having the cast of the film chant NATO? That's political,
Right. That's
so we're commenting on the political statement,
and honestly, maybe the director and the writer
just thought it was a silly, funny thing,
or are from somewhere where maybe they did get screwed over.
yeah.
That's very
The
possible.
director is the writer.
Well, maybe that guy's from a country that NATO didn't help, so he has feelings, which also makes complete sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Didn't pick up on
But he
that.
also must come from a country where they don't know how to get to the plot.
Yeah.
Well, and then Tom.
There's a big heist in this movie, and I mean the movie, just like the first one, is well over 2 hours long, and there's at least an hour where very little happens except for this scene you're describing, and the one with the other people who are extraneous to the plot. Let's go already.
There is no
No,
reason.
I would never say that. I would never say that.
For those two brothers?
I would never say that if this was a better movie.
Yeah,
Sure.
But
there is no reason that this movie needs to be 2.5 hours.
I was flabbergasted. When I saw that runtime, I said, there's no way.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an hour of credits. Maybe that's what
Right.
it is.
I mean, there's lots of effects. Like,
Lots of
that's
effects.
That's how I gird my loins for like a Transformers movie
Sure.
when I would see the runtime. I'm like, well, those credits are probably 15 minutes. 'cause there's
Easily.
so many effects.
It has to be.
Yeah.
This one, no. It
No.
is all movie.
It's all movie.
It's all movie. So,
Roger Ebert once said, a good movie is never too long. A bad movie is never too short. And this movie is definitely one of those that could have been fixed in the editing bin. Oh, wait, could have been fixed by the executive saying, no, we're not making that.
yeah.
I do think that with editing, there's a down and dirty, sleazy, fun heist movie buried in here.
Yeah.
That's going to clock in at an hour and 50 minutes. And that it's dumb, but it's breezy enough that you're like, sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Let's do it.
I agree.
A early January release. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. I will say though, I was looking at the slate, the upcoming slate. We joked early on in the history of the show. We joked that January and February were this dead period, and that's why like Paul Blart made all this money.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think that's a thing anymore. I
don't think it's been a thing for a while, but I think what you see is a lot of mid-budget films getting dropped into first quarter.
Yeah.
Because they know that there's less competition.
True.
And so, like, this movie in the summer would get steamrolled.
Absolutely.
But this movie in January has a shot at eking out a win because, this is when American Sniper came out. I mean, I think it was technically released in December for Oscar consideration.
Oh, sure,
but its
sure.
wide release was in January. It's when Lone Survivor came out.
I'm sensing a theme.
Yeah, I mean, for a while, it was like when all the military movies were coming out.
Yeah.
And then I think it's when is it when that Benghazi movie came out?
13
hours,
days?
13 days, 13 hours, whatever it was.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. But yeah, so you're seeing more high profile stuff coming out. Like, so next
week's
lower
The
budget,
Wolfman.
high profile. So next week's Wolfman, but that's roughly the same time that The Invisible Man came out, and that did very well.
Oh, it did very well, yeah.
Right? And so
and the Wolfman is doing critically sounds very well.
is it?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, the big one to me is on Valentine's Day is Captain America. Like, I don't know if that's Disney/Marvel being like, look, we know that this isn't going to be very good, so we're going to try to get it out early so we can avoid the.
But they still have a big summer movie, don't they?
I think the Fantastic Four is this
Yeah.
summer.
So I mean, I think they've done that before.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it feels like they're definitely spacing their stuff. They're not jamming as much
Yeah.
stuff in a year.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Especially you don't want anything kind of. You're going up against Superman and the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Like those are two.
But I think they also know that a Captain America movie without Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're trying to hedge their bets of like, let's give it some room to breathe.
Sure. In the Thunderbolts. So you've got two more Marvel,
Yeah.
3 Marvel movies this year.
Yeah.
So they are planning this whole thing. In the process of this, Nick starts hitting on the woman, the only woman in this group.
Yeah.
And it turns out one of the guys is her ex. And because Nick basically has this innate animal magnetism that he can just pull any woman he wants.
Okay.
Whatever.
So, okay, I know that it's not cool to discuss people's physical appearance anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm going to.
That's fair.
Is Gerard Butler okay? What is with his mouth?
I can't tell because of the beard.
It looked like his mouth was trying to eat his face.
He looked very puffy.
Well, beyond just some weight gain,
Yeah.
which happens.
Hey,
and is maybe purposeful for the character. Maybe
I
don't
feel like
know.
this is what he looks like all the time.
I'm just trying to not fat shame somebody. As someone who spent a good chunk of their life fat,
Yeah.
now I'm slightly less fat.
and now you could be like, hey, those people.
But like his mouth looked like, if I didn't see his teeth, I would have thought he didn't have any.
Sure.
Like it looked really weird.
I feel like he does do a lot of yelling in 300, but I feel like that's how he's always been.
God, I don't remember his mouth ever looking like that.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it also could be the beard, right? Like he's got a big beard that covers up most of his face.
Beard. Yeah. And this movie opening weekend is on pace to make $15.5 million, which is roughly what the first one made. But this one's opening in number 1. I think the last time it opened like number 3.
Okay. I mean, all right.
And they made it for $40 million. I will say,
It's a great looking movie for
for
$40
as
million.
much as I'm bagging on this movie, to get this movie done for $40 million, I think the first one was made for $30 million. So
I mean,
to get to what this movie looks like for $40 million,
Yeah.
I will acknowledge, well done.
yeah, I think, and I do wonder if more studios are gonna be like, okay, like we don't need to give, if this is 5 years ago,
Yeah.
no, maybe not 5 years ago because that was the time of which we do not speak.
Yeah,
But
shortly before it.
I guess that's true. But this would have gotten like an $80 million budget, probably.
I don't know. This came out in 2018.
Oh, man, that's crazy to
Yeah.
think.
Because I remember I was joking when I reviewed it on the radio. They were like, "There's a Den of Thieves 1?" And I was like, "Wait a minute. Are you telling me that you don't remember the 68th most popular film of 2018?
No, I sure don't. Oh, shocking.
I guess it had a second life on home video.
I do.
It made money. Like they made it for 30. I think it grossed like 85 or 86 worldwide, which
Yeah.
is like, okay, everybody walked out with a little bit of money in their pockets, but that's not like a big
No.
giant hit.
Absolutely not. It's
So
not.
I guess they had some data in home video that showed them.
I guess I just don't know. Anchorman gets a second life on home video because people are paying to rent that movie.
Right.
Right. Austin Powers is the same way.
Yes.
Um,
Eddie and the Cruisers.
fantastic example.
Yeah.
In the age of streaming, how do you determine what is worth getting a sequel if you're just like, well, it's the number 1 streaming movie on Netflix? It's like, yeah, but that doesn't bring in any money.
I mean, I guess maybe some of it is how many people watch it repeatedly.
I guess.
Like if they watch it again, like does that mean that like, oh, people, there must be a passion for that?
Right. Well, it's go ahead.
I don't understand why there hasn't been a sequel to Mississippi Grind. Great movie.
Just trying to get some of that
It's
back end money.
it's the man trying to keep you down.
That's
Paul.
right. That's right. He says, no, we can't put Paul Harris in another movie. He'll steal all the star power.
But no bow tie this time, please. I'm begging you.
They
We'll give you like one of those the Texas ones called a bolo.
The Bolo.
the
A
bolo,
bolo, yeah.
They can't afford what you would demand for the sequel because they didn't lock in your rates.
That's right.
After the first movie.
Yeah, right.
That's why you sign people for multi-picture deals.
Yeah. Ask Chris
Hey,
Evans.
$108 is nothing to sneeze at.
So the WWE, the rights to the Monday Night Raw were
on
up.
Netflix now.
They're on Netflix now. And they did say that like 4.7 million, there are 4.7 million views of the debut episode of Monday Night Raw. I don't know what that means.
Right.
Like though the Nielsen, if I'm working for Nielsen, I'm just like, well, I guess I'm out of a job because those ratings don't matter anymore. I don't think that.
Well, Nielsen still exists because those streaming companies don't want to share that information.
Right.
So they exist because they're trying to calculate what's doing what kind of business because the streaming companies won't share it. So because they won't share it, Nielsen will still exist because you need a third party to quantify.
Oh, I see. I see.
Plus, it's like you need a third party because it's like if you're just going to trust Netflix to tell you, they can tell you anything.
Tell you anything they want.
Yeah.
And there's no, we would say that Friends would pull in like a 9.8 in the Nielsen, which means literally everybody in the United States was watching Friends, like when it was on TV. I'm being sarcastic. I don't know what the number would be, but it was like crazy numbers, like Seinfeld,
especially
Friends.
by today's standards, because there were fewer options.
Yeah,
right. So you had 3 networks, and so you could get a 40 share. Where nowadays, I mean, you basically have to be sports or a national tragedy to get a 40 share.
Yeah,
there was a time where if you didn't get a 30 share, you were canceled.
Yeah.
Now some of these things that are on TV get a 3, 4, and that's a big hit.
It's a huge hit. And so when we talk about Den of Thieves becoming like a moderate hit, and then maybe it found a second life on streaming, unless people are paying to rent it, which I don't think that's a thing. My kid asked me to watch The Maze Runner yesterday, and I was like, isn't that on something? And she was like, no. I was like, I guess you can. Yeah.
It's not on anything?
It's on nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, keep an eye on Vudu or Fandango at home. I've seen it on sale for like $5
Oh, really?
a million times. Yeah.
I was like, she paid $4 to rent it. And I was like, it's just like going to Blockbuster. It's the same thing.
Same thing. Well, no late fees.
That's true.
Yeah.
So he ends up joining the crew. They set this whole thing up, and then they have this big plan. We should say that the 2 guys. So since Gerard Butler's character started hitting on this gal, the one dude flips, and they get into this fight. So then the collective of this crew were just like, you 2 guys are out. You're done. You're out of here.
Yeah, because they O'Shea Jackson, Donnie, convinces them to bring in Gerard Butler as quote unquote security, and then he just goes on the heist with them.
Yeah, he's just hanging out with them.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what is security about that.
Nothing at all. All they wanted to do was put those 2 guys in scenes together. Yeah. And I think O'Shea Jackson is a fine actor. I think he is capable. I think he is, he's fine.
Yeah.
And Gerard Butler is not the Gerard Butler of 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So they don't really have a lot of these 2 guys, if you're going to focus on them, it's like De Niro and who was the other guy?
Pacino and Heat.
No, Midnight Run.
Oh, and Charles Grodin.
Grodin.
Those 2 guys worked together because that movie, if you've never seen Midnight Run, go do that.
Yeah.
Or who was is it Albert Brooks and it's the one where he's like the Serpentine.
Oh,
the in-laws.
The in-laws.
But who? It's
Peter Falk
and Alan Arkin.
Yeah, I was like, for the love of God, don't watch the Albert Brooks version of the in-laws. Like, I love Albert Brooks, but no, you watch the Peter Falk version of the in-laws.
Do you know who the son is
absolutely.
in the Albert Brooks version?
Who is who?
The son, like the 4th, 5th, or 6th build character.
I don't think I ever saw it.
It's Ryan Reynolds.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I was gonna guess that honestly,
which is wild to think that.
That there was a moment where that's where he was at.
Yeah,
although that was a high-profile movie at the time it was being made. People thought that was going to be a thing.
Oh, did they?
Oh, it's Michael Douglas. It's Albert Brooks. It's a remake of a movie that was very popular and very critically well received. Like, it on paper, that should have worked. But it did not.
Did not.
No.
So they focus on these 2 guys and they make them, like they both get to like a shawarma place and they share these stories about their past, and you're just like, yeah, man, I don't give a shit about any of this. Like, I don't need these 2 guys to be friends. I want them to be adversarial throughout this whole thing, but they're not. So like Tom said, the heist goes down. It's all done through a monitor where they're just running back and forth. they've
and
got
then like the whole break-in thing is like we have a little drilly thing, and then that gets us in. While
we got the suction cup thing.
while the lady watches us on an app.
Right.
Like that's the extent of the heist.
Why not put her in
And
the
by
heist?
the way, there are 127 cameras or something like that in there that are watching this place that is the world's largest diamond exchange. And the security that was set up cycles through the cameras,
Right.
so that
But-
there are blank spots for 5 or 10 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
but doesn't
Each of those
record
cameras.
anything.
And they're not allowed to
They're not.
record anything because of privacy within
Ugh.
a locked down diamond exchange.
Right.
That no one's allowed to enter.
Correct.
We have to protect people's. Well, it's Europe, so it's privacy.
Privacy.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are not the bathrooms at the Casino Queen.
Right.
Keep the cameras on and record.
Yeah, like I'm just like talk about just plot device.
Yeah, plot device.
Yeah.
But also the bigger plot device is apparently this town, which is possible in some aspects, shuts down when there's a soccer game on.
I mean, it's Europe.
It is
That's-
100% possible, depending on the game,
As
that the
a-
town could shut down.
As an ugly American, I am more than willing to believe that this is how Europe operates.
All
I
the
don't
time.
know if it's true, but it's true-ish.
I've watched enough Ted Lasso to
Yeah.
tell me that this is how things
Okay,
are.
but let me ask you this. It's Super Bowl Sunday, and you're working at the world's largest diamond exchange in New York, not in Marseille, in New York, and you're an American, and the Super Bowl is on. Are you leaving the building and locking it behind you to walk down the street to a bar to watch the Super Bowl for an hour or two
No.
while leaving nobody guarding the world's largest diamond exchange?
Now, if it's WrestleMania,
No.
maybe.
Well,
I don't watch the Super Bowl in the first place.
Yeah. I will have it on in the background
Yeah,
because I
won't
whatever.
even do that.
No, all right.
I used to do the thing where you watch for the commercials, but now they're all on YouTube like a week before.
Right.
And so I'm
True.
like, I literally have no reason, as somebody who gives zero shits about sports, like I have no reason to watch the Super Bowl anymore.
I don't care about that.
by the way, for this guy who left the world's largest diamond exchange, I keep saying that, and went down to that bar down the street to watch the soccer game, do they not stream soccer games in Marseille where you could bring your laptop or your phone and watch it there?
Well, you
Why do
see,
you have to leave your job?
you see the security guards watching it on one of the other monitors.
Yep.
So like,
Yeah.
the only thing that he just wanted to have a beer,
Beer with a pretty lady.
while he watched the game.
Yeah.
Because there's no logical reason why he didn't have to
No,
leave to watch
and
the
he
game.
lives in that. They say that the concierge lives in that place.
Yeah.
He lives up on the 7th floor. So like that's where that's
His name
all.
is Luca.
It's not Luca.
I think I've seen him before.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Probably not.
no, probably not.
So we should say that the Sicilian mafia kidnaps both our main characters and says, "You stole something from us." And O'Shea Jackson's like, "Hey man, I had no idea that was yours. Basically, let me finish this job and I promise I will give it back to
They're
you."
like, you need to bring us back the pink diamond.
Right. And he was like, "Done. I can do that." And I do think it's funny that this movie thinks the Sicilian mafia wouldn't have taken a finger or something as collateral.
Well, it's not the 60s anymore. This is the kinder, gentler.
Yeah, right. We have a different way of doing things now.
Yeah.
We're just going to take you at your word that you're
but
going to
they-
give me back the pink diamond.
You have no idea what they did to his credit report.
That destroyed it.
Yes.
Ruined it. This is what you get for taking our diamond.
But what made the Sicilian mafia part of this even worse is that when they get to the chase and the guys are getting away and
my
they're
God.
driving along
This
these
is
mountain
so dumb.
roads,
I know exactly where
Uh-huh.
you're going.
and they get to this one point where, there's a gunfight between some of the bad guys and some of the worse guys.
They shoot the
And the
tires out on their
Sicilian
car. They shoot the tires out on the car in the middle of this car chase on this mountain road where they tell you there are no cameras or ways to track anybody.
Right.
It's why they picked it. They just, in the middle of this road, in the middle of nowhere, they shoot the tires out on the car. Okay, go ahead, Paul.
Continue.
And the Sicilian mafia happens to be there to be able to take shots at the really
Yeah.
bad guys and save the bad guys they like. How do they know that this is where that's going to happen?
O'Shea, because
I
that
remember,
That was
I remember in the second Rambo movie when he's being chased through Vietnam, and at one point he hides himself by leaning against a mud wall, and he's covered his entire body in mud. Nobody raised the question, how did he cover the last little bit? And how did he know that they are going to be going exactly that route so that he can jump out from behind them covered in mud and shoot them down? It's one of those.
And see, we didn't ask that question because that movie worked.
Yeah. He saw Arnold cover himself in mud in Predator.
Yeah.
And was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Rambo.
But it's a classic case of the
Rambo 2
only
before
people
Predator?
who would know where this was going on are the ones who read the script.
Yes, absolutely.
Is Rambo 2 before Predator?
I'm pretty sure. I'm not.
Really?
Yeah, I think so too.
Was Rambo or Predator's what, 87?
Rambo
86?
2 is 85.
Oh, then yeah, it absolutely is before
Yeah.
Predator. So Arnold saw Sly do it and said, I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Predator's 87. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's no.
So no, I think so. We know that that Donnie has said. We see a point on the map where like the route was going to end.
But
I thought he told the Sicilians, "I'll meet you
the
there."
tires were shot out of their car.
Oh.
They were like, this wasn't any sort
I
of an
see.
ending point. They could have said, meet us here, like, or discover that they were going to meet there. They're in the middle of a high speed chase.
Right.
As they're fleeing from the diamond exchange, and someone shoots the tires out of their car, and then as they're about to be gunned down because they're caught dead to rights, the mafia is standing up on a hill and with snipers and takes out the people about to kill them, but their tires were shot out. There's like this wasn't
the ending point.
Right. This wasn't the arrival point. They might have known the road they were going to take, but that road was clearly 20, 30 miles long of twist and turn and switchbacks.
Yeah.
This was the best.
Exactly.
To me, this was the best part of the movie. I thought this was a pretty well done.
Except it made no sense.
It did. The ending made no sense.
Well,
yes.
this makes no sense, and then the ending is even.
Oh, the
stupid.
ending's even like. They definitely want a third one.
They want this to be Fast and Furious.
Oh, 100%.
Yes, they want this to be the heist equivalent of.
They
Fast
want
and
this to
Furious.
be the Transmorphers version.
Yeah.
Of the Fast and Furious. So, our guys get away. They go back to Italy. They're divvying up their funds while they're doing all this. Here come the cops, and of course, we all know that Gerard Butler has flipped on this entire crew.
This is where you find out, like, they're meeting up to divvy up the funds, and then
Well, there's a moment where O'Shea Jackson's like, "Hey, man, are you good?" And it's like, "Well, no. Now I know he's not good.
Yeah.
He's gonna flip on you." So everybody gets arrested. Gerard Butler, they hold on him for a long time on the back of this truck, like talking to the other French policeman. He's like making sure his hair's out of his face and he's drinking water, but they hold on him like he has had this epiphany of like, oh man, I've been doing it wrong the whole time. Like, so it was just,
I didn't think he was doing it wrong. I think I took it as he felt bad because he liked Donnie. Like he had befriended him, and
it's Point Break.
Yeah, and he was like, I feel guilty that I'm ratting him out.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Yeah,
that's fair. So we go to the jail cell. Donnie and Nick have this face to face, and earlier in the movie, Nick says to Donnie, "You got one over on me. Nobody ever gets one over on me. I'm Nick. I'm Big Nick," which is his actual name in the first movie. Like his title character is Big Nick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he basically like, oh, so now we're even. He's like, yeah, I guess we are. And they have this back and forth. He's like, by the way, sit in the back to the left. And I was just like, so you're still a cop?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about? So we find later
Also, this part was really dumb. Because he's like, as he's leaving, he's like, sit back left. And they're going to put him in a police van.
Right.
And I'm like, hang on. So sit like back, like back of the van, or like back like closest to the where the driver's side is? And is it like the driver's side left, or is it like if I'm looking the other? Like
wait,
hang on. I have so many questions. Don't go. Well,
I felt exactly the same way, Tom. My left or your left?
Yeah,
right.
Wait, like the American left,
like
which
Europe
si-
left, or like
They could have said, go to seat 4B. Okay, that's marked 4B. I know where to sit.
Nope, back
Go
left.
Back left.
Back left.
Oh,
So the mafia shows up and
also when they bust him out of this van, at no point did his seat location seem to make any difference.
none whatsoever.
No.
Didn't matter.
To the heist of Donnie.
Correct.
They just came in and like shot up this van and
cut the lock, cut his chains, and walked him out.
got him out. Like
Yeah.
they like.
It's not like there was like a spike that came through on the right side or something.
Yeah.
No, there was nothing.
Like, I was just like, why does where he sit made a difference here in any way, shape,
Makes
or
no
form?
difference.
None.
So then he goes to this little cabin in the hillsides of nondescript Italy, I guess.
Sardinia?
It is Sardinia, yeah. And the old man is like, he's like, if I wanted to kill you, I could have killed you 5 times by now. Basically, you're really good at this. Now you work for me. And that's how this movie ends, is O'Shea Jackson is now working for the Sicilian mob.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
This is dumb.
It's a dumb movie.
And it wasn't fun. Like if it was going to be
Yes.
this dumb, then it needed to be a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
But it was not.
It was none of those things.
No.
This is, I think we talked about in our last episode is studios want IP, and this was an option for a sequel.
Yeah.
To a
And it's
moderately
a smaller studio that doesn't have a lot of
Lionsgate?
Yeah. And doesn't have a lot of things to choose from, so they're like close enough to a hit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And this is going to be one of those when they do Den of Thieves 3, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch the first 2 because I'm going to forget everything about them.
Den of Thieves 3 Slayer.
So, I'm trying to think of like your metal bands like
Yes.
but Slayer's not like on the lower tier. Like I like Slayer, but
I think Slayer.
I would go I'd go Den of Thieves 3 front right.
that's pretty good. Striper. Den of Thieves Striper. It was a
Den
mess,
of
man.
Thieves 3 White Lion.
I like that one.
Yeah.
It's all
I gave.
Go ahead,
Go
Paul.
ahead.
No, go ahead, Paul.
I was just gonna say I gave the first movie a 5 out of 10. This one I'm giving a 3 out of 10, and I'm being very generous.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I can't fault. I would give the first one like a 6.5, and this one a 2.
Yeah.
Like it's.
I think the reason I give this a 3 is because I like Russell Crowe.
But this, if this movie came out in the 80s, this is a straight to DVD action movie,
Absolutely it is.
and they don't know it.
Yeah.
Like this is starring Brian Bosworth and
Right.
Billy Blanks. Like
Yeah.
that's what this movie is. And 93.
Brian Bosworth,
and-
perfect.
And Gerard Butler is played by Roy Scheider.
Don't you dare talk.
And that's where he was at
I
at this
know.
point.
I
He was
know.
making this kind of movies, 52 pickup.
I like that movie
Yeah.
a lot. But yeah, that's what a mess.
Yeah. It was
This sucked.
very, very not good.
No,
So.
not good. I had a full theater though.
Well, I mean, I think it's doing decent business. It did, like I said, it's on pace to make a little over $15 million this
right.
weekend, which is what the first one made. And so they made it for $10 million more. It looks like they're probably going to do about the same amount of box office. So, dear God, I think there's a Den of Thieves 3.
With a 3 is the S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll look like a snake.
That's
As they say here in Alaska, fat.
So anyway, I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButtsButts21 and on Letterboxd at the same.
And Paul, where can they find you? Threads at Tom O'Keefe Jr. or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. And of course, don't forget our Patreon at patreon.com/Real Spoilers. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, Brian hands over the keys to his Supra.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, 'cause we all